That'll learn him.
That's Chris dealing with his neighbors.
Well, no, that sequence, Dan, why were you filming in front of my house last night? That's what goes on the street. The front street.
The cut and the thrust, the cut and the thrust. Yes, so we may be living in the streaming age, but plenty of us here are of a particular breed of old dog, and our old habits die especially hard. We still hunger, not just for the movies and the TV of our youth, but the formats too that we've loved collecting from our childhood through second childhood, maybe even the third childhood as well now. Who's counting? Who's counting? One thing can lead to another, of course. 1 minute you're lining up in a Blockbuster or Ritz or wherever to take something home for the weekend, and then before you know it, your home has been swamped. Your walls are covered with glorious physical media, from the newest, sexiest editions of the classics we've always loved to the latest releases, looking just as good as they do at the multiplex. So who needs to leave the house when you're a total physical media addict? Whatever region you're in, there's always a state to get into when you hold down that play button and bevy down for a night, I think. And here we are again, back on the show to talk about it all with you. So who's here? Well, we already know who's here, but this is the bit where I say, yes, so joining me is the rabbi from another planet. There he is, sort of, as cherubic as ever, and well-fed and raring to go.
I am indeed well-fed.
Yes, if you're feeding yourself and pleasing yourself, which is
well, not, I'm still a rabbi. You know, we frown on that. You'll go blind.
We've got Gary Akers, the retro doc here, Super Gary, as he's going to be known for the purposes of this edition of the show. And the one and only Bolstrek is in the corner too, looking very, very cross. And I'm not surprised, considering he's had some interlopers at the bottom of his garden.
And
hi, everyone. And so Gary has promised that by next week, he's going to have his new TV. He's going to go to Best Buy and he's going to get a Best Buy card, and they can finance it. Now, you might be able to find it for about $60,000. You'll probably want to get the extra warranty with that as well, because if that thing craps out, it's going to be a sad day. And it's going to cover his entire back wall. So next week, Gary will be playing a movie for us in the background. We'll all be very happy. Now, I would get this.
But whatever I get, Chris, is going to be outdated by Christmas.
Well, no, we're Gen X. We don't care about trends. We just care about, things that are awesome.
He's got a point.
Okay.
He's got a point. This kind of awesome. It goes a long way. Goes a long way with me. Yes, Generation X. It's funny we mentioned that because we're going to talk a little bit about the generation gap later on. The generation game. Even one of many things we're going to talk about on this edition of the show. I've still got I was going to say 1 foot in the 80s. I think both feet are in the 80s. It's just
Well, you got to give the 90s its due too. I would say 80s and 1 foot is in the 80s. The other foot is in the 90s. Anything after that is a toilet. So 80s, 90s, 70s if you're really old, Gen X, but 80s and 90s.
I sort of blame, in all fairness, I do now and again try to leave the 20th century behind and sort of get with it. But when you've got places like Arrow Video making their fabulous, glorious collector's editions of old movies, and labels like 88 Films we talked about last week, they keep pulling me back to the films I've seen a dozen times, because it's kind of like I'm watching them for the first time. So these are the two labels we've looked at in recent weeks, but I thought we'd have a quick look this week at Imprint, see what they've got on the starting grid here. So this is an Australian label. So I haven't actually owned anything by Imprint, but our friend Matt Pott, he has a lot of their releases. And so I looked at what they've got coming this month, and here we are. So and usually I look at these and I think, there's plenty of stuff I've never heard of. I've certainly never heard of Cassandra Crossing or Cannon for Cordoba, whoever Cordoba is. That's George Peppard. So that looks like a Western. I don't do Westerns. But and Framed, I recognise Joe Baker or Joe George Baker. I can't remember his name. He's been in a couple of Bond movies. But my eye was instantly drawn there in the top left to Raise the Titanic. Do you remember when that was on Bank Holiday Mondays all the time, Rabbi, on British television?
Yeah, no, I love Raise the Titanic. It's a fun movie.
One of the biggest bombs in box office history.
Yeah, I'm more interested in Boys from Brazil, but other than that.
Yeah,
Raise the Titanic, that was like Lord Lou Gray, right? That was one of his big productions.
Project had been watched
for Gary. Cost $32 million. That was the budget. It made $7 million.
Now, I rented it on video, and then I think I recorded it off the telly. They did get Alec Guinness off the back of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, which was pretty impressive at the time. And there was various other people, reasonably popular actors of the day, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it holds up. I'm not sure if it held up into 1981 or 82.
It does.
It does.
I watched it earlier this year. I don't know why everybody hates that. Well, everybody knows that I have this like obsession with the Titanic. I don't know. I just like I seem to like terrible things. I've got like a whole Titanic section, so I have all the Titanic movies.
Yeah.
But I like this one. I first saw this when I was like 6 on CED, you know, the disc format. It was actually this movie that first got me fascinated with the Titanic. I saw it right before they actually found the Titanic in 1985.
Yeah,
I think like maybe a month before. But it is. Everybody says it sucks. It doesn't. Well, yes, Clive Cussler disowned it because apparently it's not anywhere near close to.
Who directed it then, Chris?
Who was it who directed this? Just to give old Grumpy Pants here just a sec, and it
wasn't Dino De Laurentiis or somebody like that, was it?
No, it was Jerry Jameson.
No, I don't know the name.
He's has he done anything?
Sounds like the bloke that Spider-Man worked for.
He appears to, he's mainly a TV director, but a great movie. Do not listen to the critics. It does have its action sequences, and yes, the climax is a little bit anticlimactic. But if you like adventure films, I thought that the actual raising of the Titanic for 1980, like it was awesome. And well, the budget was insane for the time. I know it's out of print now, but I think it's out of print. But Scream Factory put this out about 10 years ago. But there's a lengthened, Shout Factory. There's a lengthy documentary on there that actually goes behind the effects and how they actually shot the films. And it was like a massive, massive model of the Titanic, obviously not full size. And that Titanic model ended up in somebody's backyard for some reason.
Good God. No, well, I think the reason why in Britain we've got this thing, Gary, if something comes out and it becomes known as like one of the biggest flops in history, then you never see it on television ever again. They memory hole it on British television. I think it's in all fairness, I think it's because we had so few TV channels back then.
Yeah,
it was 3/4 and only limited runtime. They didn't run 24/7. So I think that's why, because I haven't seen Raise the Titanic since maybe 83, something like that. It must have been, because it was after it came out. But Chris has just given a fantastic sales pitch for it. And the Boys from Brazil, Rabbi, was that the one with Laurence Olivier in it?
Yeah, I believe so. And that's the one with Dustin Hoffman. That's another Nazi film.
No, that was Marathon.
I saw it years ago.
Marathon Man.
So as regards your conspiracy Nazi movies, how would you rate Marathon Man compared to the Boys from Brazil? Which one would win?
I think I prefer Boys from Brazil, actually. I think it's that's got more. It's a more genre-esque plot.
Yeah, lots of people in sort of summer hats and things like that. I'm trying to work out who the third guy is. It's probably somebody I know. He looks a bit like George Orwell, but it can't be him. But my eye was drawn to the film to the left of that, Escape to Athena, with Elliot Gould, Roger Moore, and Stephanie Powers. Now, I remember that. That was always in the video shop. They had multiple copies with these painted covers. Roger Moore still looking like 007 in this. There they are.
That just based on this picture, it does not look like an adventure movie. Looks like
it doesn't. Does
looks
it?
like a comedy.
Well, no, it could be an adventure. As an adventure, is where did he find that jacket?
Well, and who did her hair is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think of the kind of adventure it looks like to me, some sort of wife swapping weekend.
No, I like Elliot Gould. Elliot Gould was always consistently good actor. Most of what he did, even if the movie was kind of he always really gave a great performance. Very likable actor.
Yeah, I like him as well. When he turned up in Friends in the 1990s as Monica and Ross's dad, he was great in that. He's always good in every film I've ever seen him in. So yeah, Escape to Athena. But you talk about high adventure. This was very much in that mold, I think, Chris. North Sea Hijack was another film that Roger Moore made that was in that kind of mold.
Over here, they didn't call it that, Dan. They called it Folks with 2 Fs, which was his character's name. That's how that got released over here.
Oh, you see, they couldn't call it that here because with our regional accents, it's never going to end well.
Yes.
So yeah, there he is, the tanned and terrific Roger Moore. They've just given him a slightly different quiff to differentiate him from 007. Obviously, Rabbi, I think that's where they've gone with that.
But looking at those 6 movies all together, and I mean, if you're a fan of like late 70s, action, whatever, this is like a solid lineup if you kind of like that kind of retro action.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like it more now I'm older as well. Now we've kind of left that era behind us. And we've got, any kind of masculinity is deemed as toxic. I like to see these sort of rough and tumble blokes who look like they've never been to the gym in their lives. Nevertheless, they're knocking like 10 bells out of everybody else, giving some bird what for. That's the kind of films that I like now.
Cassandra Crossing.
Now it's an 80-pound girl that knocks people out.
Cassandra Crossing is kind of, because back in the 70s, at least over here, well, I guess everything that was over here was released in the UK as well, like a few months later. But the 70s in the US was like the era of the disaster film. Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, Earthquake, all of that. And Cassandra Crossing is kind of sort of like a European disaster movie. If I remember correctly, there's like this train that's carrying like bioweapons or toxic whatever, and I know that I think Sophia Loren's in it, and I think I remember Richard Harris in it. But it's got to, the train is trying to, terrorists get it and try to use it to, as this kind of bioweapon because of the stuff on the train, and then you have people on the train trying to save themselves and all that. So it was kind of classed as a disaster thriller type of movie. That's kind of what it is.
I like the sound of that as well now. There's only the Western that I probably wouldn't go for. But the issue with these is that you have to import them from Australia and New Zealand. Like Matt Potts got a lot of these, and they put out some fabulous box sets on the Imprint Films label as well of British shows and American shows. But once it's the same problem that you have importing things into Canada or America. It makes it cost prohibitive for me to look at these.
I don't really do imprint because, like the cost of imprint releases in Canada is horrific. Like usually you're looking at $100 if you're lucky. I believe these are also all Blu-rays. My guess is Raise the Titanic. It's got to be the same transfer that Shout Factory did, which looked perfectly fine for a Blu-ray, even though it's a decade old. I would like to see Raise the Titanic in 4K, a decent transfer. So please, for the love of God, anybody but Shout Factory. But yeah, it's if you don't have them, great. Raise the Titanic. If you can get the region one, because I'm assuming it's the same thing, you will save a lot of money. But I don't know if it was even released on DVD.
I've never seen it.
No, I think that the Shout Factory may have been the first release since VHS. Like it's a weird movie because it just vanished off the face of the earth for like decades.
It wasn't just here then. It happened everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds like if it had been on DVD, it sounds like Dan probably would have rented it at some point.
I would have found it by now at a car boot sale, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
that's
if you can
imprint.
find the Screen
May.
Factory edition, or sorry,
Like you
Shout
say,
Factory, same
If
company.
people are biking over prints from one company to another, or these assets are going from one company to another, then it stands to reason that eventually perhaps Arrow or 88 or one of the other companies may put out an edition for us Brits for all of these. I mean, I'd be probably interested in seeing most of them, apart from the Western. So, but yeah, that's what's on Imprint Films list for May.
We've got now, I will really quickly, Dan, if I may. I know that the thing about Imprint, which is tied to ViaVision, I think it's like a specialty division of ViaVision. So I really am always checking whenever I see like Imprint or ViaVision is releasing new stuff. I always check it out because at least on the television side, there's often the case where they'll release stuff that has not been collected in the US or the UK.
Oh, and I got...
Yeah, like they did, for example, they did recently, I know I saw something come up in my feed, they did a Kolchak one, which I already have the Blu-ray set of, but they do, and they've been doing a lot of the Jerry Anderson stuff, like Stingray and Supercar and Captain Scarlet and all of that. You know, so in some ways it seems like they've kind of like taken over like what Network used to do in terms of the kind of stuff they're releasing. And a lot of times I'll check the list of extras, and if the list of extras like tips me over, I kind of consider it. But a lot of times if the extras from what I already have are basically like just commentaries, I thought, well, this would be great, but I don't want to spend $100 just to get commentaries.
That Race the Titanic book looks doubly thick. Why is it so thick?
Sometimes
it's probably there's like a lot of well, if Imprint's tied into ViaVision, you know, for their TV box sets, Rabbi, I know this is a movie, but like for example, for ViaVision, I got their I Dream of Jeannie box set, and it's in these. And if you see like some of Matt's videos, he'll do box openings and stuff, and those are like thick things with like thick books and collectors books and tat
lobby cards
and all of that. So that could be what's included in there.
And I have some good news about Raise the Titanic. I just took a quick look here on the Amazon. Looks like it's actually back in print, the 10-year-old Shout Factory version. In Canada, it's actually selling for $22.99, which nothing sells for that cheap in Canada. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend, if you're in North America, getting the imprint one, because that will be it's $100 minimum. But I highly suggest and give it a chance. And no, it's not a action thriller. It's more of an adventure movie. That Shout Factory Raise the Titanic. And yes, I know I'm promoting Shout Factory, but this is Shout Factory 10 years ago, and they still gave a shit. It's if it's that cheap in Canada, it's probably going to be even cheaper in the US, and I'm sure it's on Groove. So it looks like it's actually back in print. So I would recommend the movie, but I would not recommend spending what that version is going to cost.
So why to bide your time? Put it on a little list. I've got a little list of movies that I'm trying to track down. I'm just thinking, well, one day if I keep my eyes open, and it'll turn up as
Dan. I'm about to tip it over for you, because I'm looking to see what's in the Raise the Titanic box. You get obviously the feature film, the special features, which are interviews, documentaries, et cetera. You get an 80-page hardback book with essays. You get lobby cards, it looks like. So they do. I think, to their credit, they do try not to shortchange people in terms of overcharging and all you get is one disc. They do try to pack the stuff to at least make it a little bit more.
They're similar to Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome in that way, which is awesome. Like I would love to have that release, and it's nowhere near as bad in the US as what they cost in Canada. But in Canada, we can't afford to import anything anymore because, well, that's a whole other story. I would love to read that book. Like this is one that I actually would read cover to cover. I just don't think I could justify the cost for the book. I'd be interested to know if it has new features, because there's some pretty good features on the Scream Factory edition. I'm assuming that documentary is probably on.
Yeah, it looks like there's 3 new features. One is an interview with the Raise the Titanic historian. Okay. One is an interview with the assistant editor, and then an interview with the production manager.
Does it have a documentary?
Yeah, it says a rare 1980 TV documentary called The Last Great Human Adventure, which is probably about the making of.
That was probably something they put on British television on Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't
Michael
have
Aspel or somebody like that. I think that sounds like that kind of affair.
Test footage of an unused opening sequence. Interesting.
The fascinating part is actually, so it doesn't sound like they have the Shout Factory documentary, but the fascinating part of that is just they have archival footage of how they did the effects. And it's, keep in mind, this was $35 million in 1980. So it was one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time. And it's actually fascinating seeing how they made the footage of the Titanic and just the sheer size of that model. Like, it was just insane.
I'm going to have to look into getting this, even if it's only out there sort of streaming, or it's probably on YouTube somewhere. It's that kind of
you'll probably be able to find it. Imprint should be cheaper in the UK. It's just getting into Canada is insane. But it'd probably be a little bit more expensive than your average disc. If you can find Imprint for a good price, I'd recommend it. If somebody wants to gift it to me and I can read the book,
I've honestly found that the few things that off Imprint or Via Vision, and in the last few months they've come out with some things which I already have on DVD and I mean on Blu-ray, and I thought, well, in a perfect world I'd be able to afford all of it, but it's always worth keeping up with whatever Imprint and Via Vision are releasing, because they come out with good stuff.
It's what I could say about Imprint is they are not a Shout Scream Factory, which used to do used to be the best in the business, and now they are complete dog shit that couldn't care less. They are one of the companies that you could tell they have a passion for what they do, just like Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome. Like, they are movie fans, not a hedge fund. Scream Factory. So it's you can kind of tell with the boutique labels that succeed are the ones that have people behind it that have a genuine love of movies, genuine love of the product, which shows with Imprint. I wish they had North American distribution. Like Arrow Video did it back in 2015. They used to be primarily UK. They came into North America in 2015. I know a lot of people would love it if Imprint did something similar. Obviously, you can't bring all your films with you because of rights issues, but especially now that that Scream Factory is just Scream/Shout Factory is just given up. Even though we still have some great companies, nothing has really come in to fill their shoes because of the just massive material they used to put out and quality. So I'd like to see Imprint or even what was it, Umbrella, also Australian. I'd like to see those come to North America because they have a lot of these are more mainstream movies, but both of them, especially Umbrella, have a lot of obscure films that just aren't available in North America. I have a couple of Umbrella releases, which were not as expensive as Imprint, but still expensive to import. This was a few years ago. So we need one of these to come over. We need somebody to take the place of Scream Factory, because the other two, Arrow Video doesn't release as much because the work they put into every release is insane. Like, they have the best physical media releases in history, but it's typically about 6 a month. Vinegar Syndrome also actually recently got a contract with Warner Brothers, but they release a lot of obscure North American stuff. They're the one boutique label that actually has a mission statement where their whole mission is restoring and preserving lost films. Pretty much the opposite of Scream Factory, or just release this and who gives a shit. But they release some major stuff, but most of it is underground stuff. In terms of what Scream Factory used to release overall, there's still a void. Like, they still release the occasional release. It's underwhelming, lazy, and just even the transfers are just dog shit. We need another massive, yes, those bastards.
Yeah.
Although they're just Shout Factory name only. They're owned by a hedge fund, which is why they went to hell. But we need us. So if you're here, if you're listening, Imprint or Umbrella, if you come to North America, Region 1, Canada, and the US, you will do very well because we have some great companies, but we have a massive void, Scream/Shout Factory, that has not yet been filled. So your invitation, come make money.
The only thing I would say about Imprint / Viavision is that, and I'm sure there's a marketing business reason for them to do this. A lot of their releases, like their TV releases, like I said, I have their I Dream of Jeannie box set. They always limit it. They say, well, limited to like 1,500 copies. I saw that the Raise the Titanic limited to 1,500 copies. And when they go out of print, like if you go on their website, like some of their early TV releases were like the Avengers. They did an Emma Peel set and they did a Tara King set. But when those go out of stock, they never like reprint them, which is unfortunate. It's like you'd think like something like that should be like an evergreen, like an Avengers Blu-ray, but they let it go out of stock and stay out of stock. I don't get that.
Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome does that too. They should. Arrow Video has they don't re-release everything. A lot of it depends on rights and how the initial one sells, but they always have two versions. They'll have the limited edition, usually comes with a booklet, a poster, and a slip cover or slip box, and then they'll have the standard edition where you just get the disc. And Dan, the message that you just had up about Mill Creek, I'm pretty sure, based on rumors, that Mill Creek is pretty much done because they've also been bought out by a streaming company. I think the Ultraman stuff is probably the last. And they were not a great company, to put it mildly. They were affordable. They would put out the obscure stuff and do absolutely no restoration or anything. Just like they've got TV series. I swear some of their Roseanne set was taken off air VHS recordings. Some of the episodes are that bad. But yeah, the rumors are Mill Creek is probably done with physical media because, once again, bought out by a hedge fund company that wants to go into streaming. And the funny thing is, if you don't know this, Arrow Video was bought out 5 years ago. They are actually owned by a cosmetics company. No, I'm not making that up. But their buyout went the right way. Whereas with Scream Factory, we're going to gut the company and just take your streaming licenses, and physical media collectors can go to hell. Arrow Video was the right way. The cosmetics company bought them and said, we like what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. We are not going to interfere. And here's a whole bunch of money to keep doing what you're doing. And that was sort of the tipping point where Arrow Video went from just a standard, normal boutique label to like the behemoth they are now. So they can go right, but fuck hedge funds, you bastards.
Yeah, I mean, it's still great that most of these labels have such comprehensive customer care and customer connection, but the little sort of the limits to what they put out, what they re-release, that's very frustrating as well. You've got a gap in your collection, you didn't quite manage to get something. Yeah. You've got to stay on target, stay cited. And keep your credit card to hand, I suppose, just as a couple of people have said in the live chat.
And Dan, for those of you who don't know, Vinegar Syndromes, if you're in North America, and well, if you're in the US and Canada, Vinegar Syndrome's halfway to Black Friday sale is on this Friday, which is actually my birthday, come to think of it. I usually do a massive haul. I think I spent like $800 this last year. I will only be picking up a few releases because that's all anybody in Canada can afford. But if you're looking to get Vinegar Syndrome, they do this massive sale twice a year, halfway to Black Friday and on Friday. So the prices are actually they're more expensive than they used to be, but they're actually really good. You can get their back catalog stuff for mostly 50% off, which I have a fairly sizable Vinegar Syndrome collection, and I built it mainly through these sales. But it's on this Friday. It goes throughout the weekend, so Saturday and Sunday. They usually end up extending it into Monday. The sales are insane. They always have surprise releases that haven't been announced yet. I'll be picking up a few back catalog things this time because that's all I can afford. But if you're in Canada or the US and you're just, looking for something different and you want to check out classic obscure horror very heavily from the 80s, or even even some of the major releases that they've gotten over the past few years, I would recommend going to vinegarsyndrome.com. And no, we are not sponsored, but I think they're a great company, and I have no problem throwing my support behind them. You would not see me doing this for Scream/Shout Factory because they suck. But no, I would just even just peruse it. And the good thing that they do is shipping. It's usually $10. At least it is in Canada. I think it's a little bit in the US, but they only charge you that once during the sale. And what a lot of people do, you could just keep adding to that order, and it's only under the one shipping thing throughout the entire weekend. Last year, I had like a massive box sent to me. It only cost me $10 to Canada. And if you're in Canada, you do not pay duty or sales tax, because Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow are also both awesome because they both have physical presences in Toronto, so you don't have to pay all that extra crap. It gets shipped there one of these days, and even the way they ship it, everything is individually wrapped. Like, they actually care what they're doing. So again, Spacebook is not sponsored by Vinegar Syndrome, but this is a company that I personally want to support because them and Arrow are leagues ahead of any other boutique or studio label. So check them out this weekend. You pick up a few releases. It might be fun.
Something you can, or everybody can agree on, I think, there by the sounds of it. Here on Physical Media Nights, we like to look at these labels that don't get quite so much attention, because I do get some of them mixed up, the different territories that they sort of reside in, what you can get where, how you can access it, and shipping costs in particular. All of those things we've got to bear in mind. Well, everything else is taxing enough as it is, without all the sort of the cut and the thrust and the constantly monitoring about 5 or 6 different sites to see when something's come back in. But we've got to do the best we can to man the battlegrounds. Another battle, I think, that we're constantly engaged with coming up now, the generation gap, I think, where, there's no accounting for taste, but maybe we could be about to get on the same page after all. Check this out.
What the hell is this? Hey, come here. Hey, does anybody got a can opener? Hey, don't get out of my face. Hey, careful, it'll hurt you. Who, this garbage can?
I really felt that one. I really felt
Love that film. Deadly Friend, for anybody who's wondering.
Very deadly. What a grip. What a grip. Wait for his batteries to run down, then see who's laughing. Okay, so, back to the past. I think let's dial up the past and connect with a happy-ish place. I'm very happy in that case. So what I wanted to know, I've been reading a few articles recently, and it's very difficult to know because there's a lot of piss and wind in the media. There's a lot of clickbait, and there's a lot of articles that get circulated over and over and over again, telling us the things that we want to hear. But this one I'd read myself, and then Gary sent it to me as well. I thought maybe there's something in this, because obviously we are Generation X, all of us here, which is our cross to bear, but we had a fabulous time in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So you can't have it all your own way, can you? But what comes afterwards, of course, can sometimes be somewhat distasteful, can't it? I don't know what to make.
God damn it!
I don't know what to make of Generation Z. They're not all bad, Gen Z. That's got to be expected.
But the bad ones, Jesus Christ.
That's got to be acknowledged. They're not all bad. But I do feel that we are partly at war with them over culture mainly. But according to this recent article that we've seen, it could be the case that there may be a ceasefire on this, and that some of these old habits that we've had that we can't seem to let go may be being picked up by Gen Z After all, how I see it is that the Gen Zers, their idea of how their ideal future when they grow up, where they see themselves is sort of something like this. Whereas for us, when we were, however, like 10, 11, in the 80s, our idea of the ideal future looked a lot like this, I think. It was more along that lines. So that's, I feel, where the gap is. But it could be that we're about to get on the same page regarding physical media. According to this article at Screen Hub, are Gen Z really discovering the joys of collecting physical media? So this article went live a couple of weeks ago. The Screen Hub have investigated this matter, and they are laying out their findings, I suppose. And I have to say that having read it after all, Gary, they make a pretty good case. I was quite surprised by this. The byline says, in a world governed by the internet, the value of physical media offers something irreplaceable. Why young people are turning back to DVDs, Blu-rays, vinyl, and other physical media. So, Gary, you saw this. What struck you about it first? Because you're the one who said this to me.
Well, obviously, the topic, I thought it's like something like this, like whatever they say, whether they're like really way wrong or whether they're dead on, this is kind of our purview. And so, it'll be interesting to talk about. But the one thing I think that maybe, enticed, the writer to cover this is because, the Gen Z, is known, whatever Gen Z is known for, it's not known for, looking back to the past, collecting things like
tear down the past, kill it if you have to, all that stuff.
Yeah, collecting physical media, appreciating, the treasures of the past and doing all that. So for them to spot a trend that just totally goes against what we think of as, Gen Z's, characteristics, their habits and everything is really interesting. And like you said, they do lay out a case for why Gen Z, at least in this particular area, is acting so unlike themselves.
They say here,
Gen Z again? What age are we talking about with Gen Z?
So when we look at Gen Z, Rabbi, this is who we're looking at, and this is how it works. So we are Generation X there. So we were born between 1965 and 1980. So that's where we are. But before us was the baby boomers. So that's my mother's generation. And who came after us are the millennials. Generation Y were known as the millennials. People born between 1981 and 1996. But the Zoomers, otherwise known as Generation Z or Z, they're the people who were born anytime between 1997 and 2012. So yeah, that's that precise spot. So that's where my kids were. Were all of them born, Rabbi? And yours too, around that time?
Right. I was just thinking that I had a couple of kids in to help me move like about a month or so ago, and they were brothers. One was 16, one was 11, right? And I was throwing out a bunch of my old bootleg DVDs, my own I made, right? Because I have them on digital, I have them on Blu-ray. I don't need to have these things that I never look at, right? And the Gen Z was like, his brother will never know the pain of throwing out DVDs, right? He felt that was something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I was like, yeah, if you want them, you're more than welcome to them. But like, yeah, so they do respect, like they do respect physical objects.
Why do you think that is, Rabbi? Why do you think that is? Is it a novelty value to them?
It's that. I mean, it's a reaction to the world we live in right now, which is, all streaming. Which, I'm a big fan of streaming. I got HBO Max. I'm really enjoying it. I'm watching Euphoria, and it's actually brilliant. I can't believe how good it is. Right? I'm kind of blown away by that. I was blown away by other things, but it's a way of, I guess, stamping some individuality onto yourself. It's the same way as vinyl is often popular, but in terms of like a mainstream thing, physical media is only going to be niche from now on, right? be more than that.
Rabbi, I understand in all fairness, as much as I love physical media, I understand the romance of vinyl. You know, the record boxes and the record bags, the smell of vinyl, the maintenance of it, the cleaning it, the buying needles. It's not as much about the kit as it is about the vinyl itself. But I don't think you've got that really with physical media, with DVD and Blu-ray. You know, you look at what the latest model is, or you have a word with a guy like Chris or Gary who knows what they're talking, or Keith from Home Media Minefield, and you can, you just order what you want off Amazon, and generally speaking, they all look the same, like long, thin jet black boxes, but with record players, with vinyl, that people can customize them and make them personal.
There's a difference.
Sorry, Chris.
I'll just say there is obviously there's a difference between vinyl and movies, because the movie equivalent of vinyl would be buying film reels. Good luck with that, especially if you get old ones that are flammable. That's a bit of a hazard. But I think with there are different levels of collecting, and we still have 3 formats, although Blu-ray is becoming the odd one out, oddly. You have DVD goes to people they don't want to stream. They want a physical copy, but they don't care about quality. This is mostly boomers, where they just want the movie. It's cheap. They can go to Walmart or whatever and get it fairly inexpensively. So the people that just want the movie don't care about the quality. That's why DVD is still king. But the
portability,
the movie equivalent of vinyl was Blu-ray. It's now 4K. But there is an example of when you're talking about the packaging of the vinyl. And that's like, I never got into vinyl collecting. I'm like, I cannot afford another hobby, especially when records here are like $100. I'm like, no, I'll just one hobby at a time, please. But started with Blu-ray, but now it has moved to 4K for the collector's market. But there is a vinyl equivalent. Now, in terms of quality, we're many years away from this, but it'll be years before streaming even comes close to the quality of 4K. Like 4K discs, a well-encoded 4K disc, just for an example, Arrow averages between 80 to about 110 megabits per second. Streaming is less than 5. Blu-ray goes up to about 25, 30. DVD is about 5 megabits. So the compression for your 4K movies is actually the same as a DVD. You won't get that quality, but the other thing comes with the packaging. And this is again, the boutique labels where collectors will, again, I use the examples of Imprint when we saw that big Titanic set, but this is where Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow and a couple of the others really have sort of zeroed in on what makes this appealing, where you get these really nice chunky box sets, usually great artwork. It comes with, you get a booklet, but I've got about half a shelf of Arrow's chunky box. It's actually about 2/3 now. I'm like, they look so cool on the shelf. I'm like, that's peak collecting. So I think even though you don't have that analog disc, which, will not happen when it comes to visual medium the way it did with audio, but there is that collector's impulse. But I think even Zoomers, like my nephews, the oldest was born in 2011, so he's a young Zoomer. The younger was born in 2013, so he's a young alpha. But these kids around this age, they've never really known ownership, because keep in mind, Netflix really took over the world maybe 13 or so years ago. I think 2010, 2011. So a lot of the younger kids have never really known ownership. All they know is streaming, and also the irritant of streaming, where you'll like something. Oh, this is my favorite movie. It's gone. And so there is a novelty aspect to this. So I can actually own this movie.
So they've grown up with disappearing media, is what you're saying. And this to them would be a solution. Funky in the live chat here says, on the rare occasion I go to Reddit, there's lots of youngsters starting physical media collections now. And that does seem to be what this article is pointing to as well. They claim that if you go over to TikTok, I know the Rabbi, you talk about TikTok quite a lot, there's videos where creators share the lost art of how to burn a CD, the tradition of creating something physical and thoughtful to give as a friendly or romantic romantic gift. In many videos, creators show off where to find cheap DVDs and Blu-rays. See, they're coming round. This is us. And explain why being able to share your collection with friends is so valuable. It's a very community-orientated thing, isn't it? There are folks arguing about the value of physical media over streaming and discussing the reasons why physical media sounds better or looks better due to that compression rate that you were talking about, Chris. So it is all there. It's all over TikTok. I went and looked, and they're right. It's here. It's very self-evident that this is a movement of sorts, and they're looking at various different devices, lots of different formats, and even accessories. And I kind of like this. I think this is sweet. Somebody playing a Sade CD there, and somebody growing their collection, like a couple of dozen films. But that's probably how I started as well. So this is definitely a thing.
Back in the old days, we called that a mixtape.
Mixtape.
Right, I was just thinking that.
A couple of centuries ago, we called it a mixtape.
It really was a century ago.
I was the king of the mixtape. It does seem to be that I don't use TikTok myself, but it does seem to be that a lot of trends do originate from this app. And it's interesting. I think it's an organic thing. I can't imagine, Rabbi, that it would have been pushed by the media, because they haven't got any.
No, it feels organic to me.
Because their interests lie in getting us streaming everything, don't they? Surely.
That's why it's probably organic and not it's not a corporate thing. I think it's nice. I think it's nice that it's come back. These are like fringes. Streaming is, until the next thing comes along, it's going to be massively dominant and only more dominant as time goes on. But I like the idea we're going to have niche physical media. I mean, isn't there a great bootleg market in the Middle East? No, in Asia.
Yeah,
we can get pretty much anything on bootleg.
Well, if you're looking for something, you're exactly right, Rabbi. Go to eBay. I mean, if you can't find what you want, you go to eBay, and there's all kinds of. That's where it thrives.
Like I've bought. I'm no fan of streaming, but there are sets that I bought where there was something that I was watching on stream or whatever. It's disappeared. I've ended up buying the actual set. I've got a lot of DVD series like that. But that's the idea of ownership, or you have your favorite show. It's on streaming. Say your favorite show was The Office back when it was on Netflix. Oh, it's gone away.
I understand, and I see this is why it's a trend that's going on, but I just don't see it becoming dominant.
I think it will be. Well, vinyl was never dominant either. I think this is going to be similar to
the 70s.
Well, I mean, I'm talking in terms of revival. I'm talking about physical media.
Physical media
is heading towards vinyl territory, which
makes sense. It's
you know what it is, and I'm not trying to sound like too expansive here. The more people are frustrated by whatever this current era, I mean the world now, whatever it lacks, everybody defaults to nostalgia. When the world was better, when their life was better and everything, and then it goes into whatever books you read or movies or whatever. And if the current world isn't working for you, then nostalgia is the automatic, escape hatch.
I can't imagine the current world is working for anyone, frankly. Like, I offered to babysit a friend's kid recently, right? And they're convinced I'm a pedophile now. Like, just convinced beyond convinced. Like, what? Why would you do that for? I'm like, I wanted to watch Thunderbirds with him. I didn't want to suck dick. Like, really, I don't know how you watch Thunderbirds, but it doesn't involve a handy, right? I don't get it. But that's what the world is like. It's really like. And like, used to be in synagogue, you'd have these candy men who like give candy to kids when they came over. Not allowed anymore because the women are too scared. They want to rape the children. Like, how often does that really happen?
Well, again, I mean, this is the kind of thing that I've said over the years. I believed that the amount of nonsense in Britain or in the world had been drastically exaggerated by the media. And I used to say to sort of friends and family, and with my own kids, used to say, well, don't worry too much because this is a teeny tiny minority in society. But now I kind of feel stupid, and they seem to be bloody everywhere, including, I mean, the BBC is infested with these fuckers.
Yeah.
So I've had to begrudgingly, accept that I was wrong about these frigging deviants. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
how wrong you were, right? I really don't know. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is.
That's what
But I don't
think
it's as good as we thought it was in the 70s either.
It's bad in certain circles, and the BBC is a prime example.
Let me just say to Victor's comment there, I think that's totally true, because I mean, if you look at everything that's been produced in let's say like since 2000, whenever Gen Z started and then Gen Alpha, all that's been are remakes and reboots of stuff that first was created for Gen Z,
Gary, even
a little bit of Gen Y, so they don't have anything of their own. It's all like remakes.
Yep. Yeah, even pop music is like sampling and cover versions, and
they don't have anything of their own because they haven't produced. I mean, I know I'm overgeneralizing, but for the most part, it's all been sequels, reboots, remakes, whatever. There hasn't been a distinctive thing, I would say, like since 2000, which is like, wow, that is a true original that couldn't even have been conceived back in Gen Y, I mean Gen X, Gen Z. And so it makes total sense to me that they're nostalgic for stuff from the 80s, late 70s, early 90s, whatever.
Well, oddly enough, Gary, I think the one form of at least film entertainment that actually has had new and interesting things while everything else has gone to crap is the horror genre, which children are not going to be watching. It's basically all they had was the reboots and reboots on top of reboots. But I think that there's another aspect to this where it's Gen Z, yes, that's found this, but there's also amongst our age, there's the nostalgia for people that did have DVD collections and then got rid of them, and now they hate streaming and they wish they had. Like years ago, I sold my entire CD collection. Now I ripped it, the ones that I wanted before I sold it. At this point, even though I haven't bought a CD in over 20 years, I regret selling that collection. If I had to do it over again, like I had about 400 CDs.
I sold a lot of mine as well, Chris, and I regret at least half of them. Yeah.
And at this point, I haven't bothered buying it again because I'm like, especially because CDs are a niche thing too. They're almost as expensive as vinyl. It's like I've thought about rebuilding it, but I'm like, really, like where do I start? Because my collection was massive.
I feel exactly the same way. Yeah. There's the comment here from the article. What they sort of lead towards is that as humans, we are naturally drawn to tangible things and we love stuff. While that presents itself differently in different people, the appeal of being able to claim ownership of something is universal. For a generation that grew up alongside the internet, where everything exists in a virtual world and nothing is truly owned, reclaiming physical media allows for some tangibility and realness. I like that word, realness. Buying a favorite movie or show on DVD or Blu-ray represents a novel act. So again, it's something just for them, something they might just keep in their room or put in a bag or something like that. I saw this post on X a couple of days ago from Game with Dave. I don't know what he's gaming. I dare not ask. But he went through a list of various things that have been pulled, various stunts, a succession of innovations on the surface, which we were happy to go along with. But when you break it down, when you kind of bullet point it like this, he leads with they removed DVD drives from devices. They made physical media harder to buy and use.
Hell yes.
They removed expandable storage from phones. They pushed us into streaming subscriptions. They made always online normal. This is something I've noticed recently as well. Yep. My new phone that I had 2 weeks ago came switched on, and all the various new apps and upgrades, they all have this kind of they all connect with me now in a way which leads me to believe that they think that I should always be online and my data should always be engaged. And that they made unlimited internet necessary. Yes, that's what I mean. So to access things on my new phone, I have to always be connected to the internet, and I want to turn it off sometimes. But again, maybe that's my age. And finally, he says, then they slowly raised the price of everything. Ownership quietly became renting. And so for the children who, as we've been worked through this funnel by the you-know-whos, the generation who've grown up throughout all of this, they're reacting against it. They don't know why, but they're seeing an alternative, just like the rabbi said with those kids. And they think, oh, that's pretty cool. That's quite novel. I might want to do that. And some of them will stick with it.
That's what it is. They want to be free. Everybody wants to be free. And the last 10 years, maybe 20 years, everything's been done to enslave normal people. Apparently, if you buy an HP printer now, you can only print like 20 pages a month or something. Was it here I spoke about this?
Yeah, I told you that last week.
Yeah, it blows my mind. That absolutely blows my mind.
It's when you look at that list, everything on that list represents so much of what's wrong with everything.
Yeah, you're right.
Like the DVD, CD drives from cars. I guess there wasn't much demand for them, but now with the way they've redesigned dashboards, especially in North America, with the requirement for reverse cameras, you can't you can plug one in, which might work, it might not. It's impossible to install a CD drive in your dashboard if you want to. Physical media harder to buy and use. Yes, they're getting even new releases now, especially where I am, are getting impossible to find. Removed expandable storage from phones. That one really pissed me off. Streaming subscriptions, yes. Although on the drive issue, just as a side note, a company, I'm sure some of you know Tascam. They usually make professional audio gear, usually mount rackable stuff, or they go in racks for like shows and stuff like that. My research this week, Tascam's 4K player, which had been discontinued, is now back in production. We have another option. It is a premium option, usually around $1,000, but it is built like an absolute tank because it's made to be rack mountable. So good news, Gary, on the player front. One of them appears to, based on what I found, and it was very silent, but one of them has come back. Maybe more will come back.
The top loader, they will never come out with anything better than the top loader, the Ka-chunk.
I love the Ka-chunk.
Oh,
the problem is, Gary, the problem is when it breaks. Ka-chunk crank.
Ka-chunk.
Oh, that's it.
There was two great, if you know, growing up in the VHS age, there's two sounds that will be basically the soundtrack of our lives back then. One was the Ka-chunk, and when was that glorious sound as your machine ate the tape of the VHS tape?
Nightmare, wasn't it?
Little
It was something you wanted to watch again and again and again. The bastards. We've got a comment here from Keith Croggins, who says it's sad Target carries vinyl in the USA, but they've dumped all their movies and shows.
I didn't know they carried vinyl, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that's an unfortunate byproduct of this revival of vinyl? Is that retailers may think, well, it's either one or the other, and
well, I
maybe
remember,
it's just a fad, it's just a trend.
I remember a few weeks ago, Chris, maybe you can remind me of like the context in which you brought it up, that Target now went from having a whole section and then a couple of rows, and now basically they'll have a few of the top sellers on an end cap, and that's it.
That was Walmart. Target Canada
No,
is
Target
an exercise
does it
in
too.
failure because it doesn't. Target Canada is no longer a thing, but it's Walmart that did this, and it depends on the store. But because we have two Walmarts, they've both been renovated in the past year. One is like the older, largest format store available in Canada. The other one is, I believe, the largest format store, like it's massive. Both of them used to have massive physical media sections, but the newer of the two of them, the massive one, it was like it had practically its own physical media store up until a few years ago. They renovated it in 2021, where they took out most of that, but still had a few rows. Like they'd have their massive new release spindle, which was huge. And then they'd still have a few rows of sections. They took that out last summer when they renovated the big store. All that's left is a smaller new release rack where you can still get the new releases, and they'll still have like their sale cardboard boxes during, big periods, but that's it. But the other one, which they are in the process of renovating right now, is almost done with physical media. There is no physical media home in that store. They don't even have the rack. All they have is just one cardboard box of sale items, and they only refresh it like every 2 months. The new releases in that thing are from like 2 months ago. So they are, but the rumor is Walmart is going to be phasing out physical media completely, where it's going to go to an only online thing. And the problem in Canada is Amazon has a monopoly outside of the small amount that Walmart has, and even Sunrise Records is closing stores everywhere, and they suck to order from. But the prices for new releases on Amazon.ca, for the longest time, a standard price for a new release 4K in Canada outside of boutique was $32.99 or $34.99. Now you can largely only get those through Amazon, and they now start at like $53.
You know, Dan, I just want to say that one of the reasons why this trend that we've been talking about, that the article's been talking about, is so odd that now all of a sudden Gen Z would be indicating an interest in physical media, is because the one thing that Gen Z has always, and Gen Alpha, has always had at their fingertips in an instant is the glut of availability. No matter what you want, go online somewhere, and in the snap of a finger, you can find it. One of the things that, at least for me, drove, collecting in, the old days. And I know, Dan, you and I are old-time comic collectors. I don't know if the Rabbi and Bullstrike ever collected comics, but we would, it was the idea of, oh, I'm looking for this particular issue, and I'll go to a comic store or a convention, and that'll be on your list.
I remember that.
That'll be on your list. And it was like a glorious day if you finally found the issue you were looking for. Contrast that to now, where you can go on Comixology or any of the online thing, and if you just want to read an issue, boom, you can find it in about 4 seconds.
Most of the history, the publishing history of the big two, certainly from the Silver Age onwards, is constantly in print,
right?
And a lot of it, the bulk of it from before that as well.
And in the early days of VHS, back if you were growing up at the times when if you missed something on television, it was a one and done. That was it. You were blank out of luck, And so here comes along VHS and DVD with these shows that you never in your life thought you'd ever see again. And so you want to build a physical collection of those things. But now you sit down in your chair, and in 2 seconds, you have access to 200 streaming channels. And no matter what you want to watch in the world, it's there just like that. No more need to hunt. No more need to, the joy of finding something which you've been looking for so long, or like seeing something that you never thought you'd see again. It's the same thing.
Sounds like dating.
Well, but you know what I mean? It's like if everything's at your fingertips and there's no sense of achievement or accomplishment or joy in finding this hidden treasure, which you never ever thought would be yours, that's gone. They don't have any concept of what that is anymore, because everything is available and always has been. Do you know what I mean? I think that factors into it. I know
exactly what you mean. I could almost feel sorry for them, or maybe not.
But see, that's why it's weird that if you grow up like that, where everything media-wise is at your fingertips, that's what makes this trend of turning back toward physical for them kind of really odd.
It's a strange and interesting times we're living in, Rabbi. I don't know if it's written in the runes anywhere, but I'm really interested in this story. Not interested enough to join TikTok and to get on with this trend. I think we'll leave them to it. I'll leave it to the new generation to enjoy their thing without Dad or Granddad sort of steaming in and wanting to play. I'll leave them to it. But I think it's really interesting that this is happening. And so if there are any subsequent articles about this, if the bubble bursts, to see, even if we just see how long it lasts, if it is a trend or a fad, as Victor says in the live chat here on YouTube, and several other people are echoing that. I think it's hard to say, because I thought that about vinyl. I didn't think that people would still be talking about vinyl. I didn't think that what little HMV stores were still open and viable, would be packed out with vinyl and hardly any films in comparison. But that's where we are. That's what's happened. So,
well, Dan, I think before we leave it, there is kind of, if you look at vinyl, those of us that are old remember how in the 90s, starting at probably around 90, 91, 92, when CDs took over, vinyl became the most uncool thing on earth. There was no nostalgia for vinyl in the 90s. It was this old crappy technology. I remember we used to smash records for fun because we were stupid.
Yeah,
but it's like, if you look at that period until probably the mid 2000s, vinyl was hated. It was seen as like
Chris,
lower than garbage.
That scene in Shaun of the Dead where Nick Frost and Simon Pegg are being stalked by a zombie or whatever, and they're holed up in the house, aren't they? Do you remember this, Rabbi? And they
throw the records at them.
They're under siege. Yeah, and it's which can we throw first? Oh, Prince, the Batman album. It's like, and the joke is that these things, just as Chris says, are totally and utterly disposable. You wouldn't throw a copy of Batman by Prince in a
not now. Right.
Being thrown, but there is a similarity with physical media where there was a period, and we're still into that right now, when streaming became king, when physical media sales started to flatline completely in the 2010s. I think the high point was 2006, and it was all downhill after that for DVD, then Blu-ray, then 4K. But there is a period where amongst the normies, like we are not normies, we're not normal, sorry folks, but no, there was a period, and we're still kind of into that right now, where your DVDs, Blu-rays, like, and because we're odd and we kept collecting them, the more uncool they came. Everybody was like, why would you collect that crap? Okay, yeah, go play with your DVD player, Grandpa. So we're still kind of with physical media, kind of for, I'd say, probably about 14, 15 years, where physical media is where vinyl was in the 90s, where it was seen as old, outdated technology. You're a complete loser if you're wasting time with this. But then with millennials around the early, I'd say very late 2000s, that's when the vinyl revival really started. And then, when the hipster generation became the sort of millennials identifying thing in the 2010s, vinyl suddenly becomes massive for collecting. It became cool again. So I think it's, for physical media, it's similar, where we've had this period where it was like the uncool of the uncool, like it's just crap, like, people make fun. I get made fun of all the time for my collection, and I don't care. Where it's, it just disappears for a while from the mainstream, and then, the nostalgia kicks in, or, a lot of millennials did not grow up with vinyl because, vinyl was dead by the time they could buy records. Even cassettes are made. Yeah, that one I don't understand.
Boy.
These things were vile. I mean, I am nostalgic for the look of them and holding them, but playing them, no, they were a pain in the arse.
The best thing you do with a cassette is get an iPhone, a smartphone case that looks like a cassette. They were good in like the 2000s, I remember.
I still have like so many of those. I haven't played them like for decades. If I tried, I think they'd probably disintegrate.
I've got 2 or 3 boxes. Various off-air recordings of old TV shows, not just sci-fi shows, but comedies as well. But yeah, the idea of playing them when they were always very temperamental, even compared to VHS tapes, that's something I'm happy to leave in the past.
I still have all my Simon and Schuster Star Trek audiobooks from the 80s into the 90s.
One more quick serious question, and this is a serious question. Do you guys think that circumstances would ever conspire to bring back, not on the level of a Blockbuster, but video rental stores?
No.
Because
I think, Gary, the point there is the idea is ownership.
Yeah.
Rabbi?
I was going to say, video ownership, rental, no, that's done.
Okay.
Why why would you? It's like you rent.
Honestly, for me, it would for me, it was always like the community. You go there on a Friday night, the stores packed out. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. World was better then, but
I think what you may see. I think what we may see in its place, though, Rabbi, Gary was talking about community, is perhaps in the way that book clubs have been a thing for the last 20 years. We could end up with
communities
of people trading tapes or trading vinyl or anything that they simply don't want anymore. But VHS tapes, certainly DVDs, which you can't give those away now. Charity shops won't accept them. So I can see that becoming a thing, a literal place where you can drop something off and pick something else up, and just as Gary said, sort of chat with the people who may be there, have a cup of tea, like a cat cafe that women are all seem to be fascinated with. Every bird that I take out seems to love a cat cafe. Heaven knows why. Yeah. So let us know what you think of this article. Is it a load of heresy, or do you not believe a word of it? Even worse, or are you charmed by the notion that our children or our children's children could be coming to the same party that we did between sort of the late 70s right the way up to the late 80s and early 90s, when sell-through video became dominant, and then the excitement of getting the same information on a DVD where we could skip around it. Let us know what you think, of course, in the comments. We're all ears. We'll probably come back to that. We tend to come back to most things, don't we?
Yeah, you got some change for cigarette machine?
Yeah.
Alright, give me the key.
How much you get?
Enough.
Love.
The movie is, it should have been a franchise.
and finally, everybody, as it was last week was a special day for geeks the whole world over. Whether you're a huge look at that, isn't that sweet? Whether you're a huge Star Wars fan or not, last week was Star Wars Day, wasn't it? May the 4th be with you and all that. I get a bit tired of all this guff now after the last 20 years. But the Star Wars fans, the real hardcore devotees, they can't get enough of it, can they? Stomping around the place dressed as stormtroopers and all that kind of stuff. Fair play to them. Who am I to knock that with all the other stuff that I like? But Star Wars, I've been thinking a lot about Star Wars lately, about how little it matters to me, about how very little of it I watch or think about, how none of my collection is really sort of anchored in it at all, how I have sort of put a cap on buying any of it ever again, whereas there are other items, other movies, which I will happily buy. Highlander, for example, coming out on 4K soon. Am I going to buy that again? Yeah, I am. But with Star Wars, I've put a lid on it for the time being. And I don't really know. I don't really know why. There's a new movie in the cinema. Oh, look. There's a new movie in the cinemas next week, and the trailer looks fantastic. The preview reel is meant to be absolutely thrilling. The special effects look extraordinary. Jon Favreau's directing it. He's made so many great movies. So why aren't I feeling it? I don't know. Why aren't I feeling any of this?
They absolutely killed it over how long? 10 years? You know, like how much can they stomp on something before nobody cares? Having said that, my Andor really revived my love of Star Wars, and I can't recommend enough the Kai Peterson edits of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which was his edit was really it was a good movie. Like he did 2 Boba Fett movies. One was just excellent. Right, I keep saying go check them out, but it really it's like new Star Wars, but good.
Well, we've got the trailer for that coming up because I know how much you like it, so that's why this is sort of a pitch for that, really.
Okay, I got there too quick. I'm sorry.
But what's going on with Star Wars? I mean, because I was looking at your excitement for that, and I see this a lot with people. You know, Kevin Wrightsley was on the show a few weeks ago. Huge Star Wars fan, but doesn't watch modern Star Wars, and yet he's a massive fan of it. He's got the Stormtrooper outfit. He's got Grand Moff Tarkin's, all that kind of stuff. He just doesn't consume modern Star Wars in the same way. He's got multiple copies of Bliss, just the same way we all have. I thought, well, where did it all go wrong? And I think it's because when Star Wars was the biggest franchise by a country mile, and similar to how the Disney animated movies used to be, there was a kind of scarcity attached to it as well. So the films would get re-released in new editions on tape and then on DVD, and they'd be of limited number, or there was a window where they'd be available, and then they would go back out of print. Those were masterstrokes looking back. It kept a prestige around the brand. Even Return of the Jedi, you know, it somehow managed to.
Well, that's aged very well. Return of the Jedi's aged very when it came out, we were like, ugh. That's not as good as
I think it was the marketing. The marketing rabbi is what sustained that and recultivated it over and over again. And obviously, when he made the prequels, that was just when the spell was kind of starting to wear off. Yeah. The reason why I'm not feeling it now, or feeling this in particular, is it's the same but different. I was thinking, well, what is Star Wars now? What does it represent? Because apparently this film, the Mandalorian and Grogu, is tracking to not open very well at all, despite the fact that all the publicity looks great. They've not scrimped on this, as I understand it. I think their expectations are modest, but it looks like they've put a lot of creativity into it. I thought, why is this? And I realized
it's Star Wars. This is what happened with the killer franchise.
I realized, Rabbi, that I want to see this film, right? And yet, when I look at the things that are out over the next few weeks, I see Masters of the Universe for a start. I see Supergirl, and I get quite excited, get quite pumped about seeing them. And then I think about Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu, and I liked a TV show. You know I did. That's the one that I can't seem to get into gear to going to see. And I realized, certainly for me, that what they've managed to do is that they've taken the most valuable screen property of them all, and they've kind of made so much of it for television that I think that I have started to associate Star Wars with a disappointing churn of ill-conceived TV shows that have banked up probably hundreds of hours of content that I've never watched. I've started to detach Star Wars from cinema completely and associate it with television. And why would I want to go and see television on the big screen? That's what they need to do.
I have to tell you, most people I've talked about going to see this movie, they say, well, why will I go to cinema see it? It's going to be on Disney Plus in a month or two. Like, why bother? All right. And look, the cinematic experience is something that's dying out, much like physical media, right? They need to do something to revamp. Like, okay, here's what cinema needs to do. If a cinema chain gets bought out by Amazon, right? And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you go and see the movie for free, put on your old MGM catalog, put anything on, but people enjoy it, and make the money through the concessions, which makes some money anyway. Like the movie doesn't make any money. And that, make going to the cinema fun again. And that's the problem. And it's not cheap going to cinema, right? We've been burnt over and over again. Same with Star Wars on TV. We've been, how much of what they put out has been unwatchable feminist shit. Again, Obi-Wan Kenobi. How do you make feminist shit out of that? Oh, there you go. Put in Baby Leia and an angry black woman who's the key to everything, right?
I noticed, Rabbi, and I don't know if you saw this again with your kids, but my kids were excited about this. They went to see this, and it was the same with all three of them. When they put the Star Wars prequels into cinema, there was a degree of excitement around each of those. And there was people were counting down to them being released. That, well, if they can do it for that, and that seemed to exist in a bubble. The appeal of those movies doesn't seem to have been damaged for that audience in the way that the greater brand has. So where's the disconnect, and where does it lie precisely, and why isn't the Mandalorian and Grogu reaching people, or is it simply the fact that cinema has moved on and we're now
Partly
there's other
It's
things
partly
that
that
are
as well,
on
yeah.
people's minds.
I look,
I
cinema
don't know.
never really recovered from COVID, truth be told. And it was also
theaters, you mean?
COVID, and it was everything they did was shit for like 10 years. Yeah. All the popular, everything people enjoyed, they just said, put a chick in it, make it gay, make it lame, right? Like the South Park thing. And it's just like nobody wants to. They killed the desire for it.
Yeah.
I wonder about that myself. I got the figures here, a rough chart that even I can understand.
Wow.
Of the line between 2014 and up to 2024 and then 2026 ahead. I understand things have continued to recover into 2026, but you can see, just as you said, Rabbi, that precise point exactly when you said.
I mean, again, if the movies they were making was still, if COVID happened in 2015, the cinema would have recovered. It's not worth the bloody money. And how many times have you been burnt? Most people have.
And it's not, I mean, the money's a massive thing, obviously, but the other thing is kind of what you were saying, Gary, back to the communal aspect of it. If it's something that you can only do either financially or because people are pushed for time, you can only do it every few weeks, every couple of months, maybe every 6 months. You want to make sure that if you're going with friends or with family to see a film, that it's going to be memorable. You've got the greater chance of the majority of the party that you go and see it with enjoying themselves, because you don't want anybody in your friend circle to have a shit night, do you? Everybody wants to be enjoying it, for even if it's for different reasons, enjoying it, but that's not even a given now either.
Well, like I said, I mean, and Rabbi's right. I mean, streaming, I think, has crippled, maybe killed, the communal aspect of movies, because nobody needs to go and experience a movie the first Saturday night that it's out or the first Friday night that it's out, because, they'll wait a month. Don't even have to open their front door. They can, so streaming has slaughtered the communal aspect of movies. For Star Wars in particular, but for me, I should say that Star Wars for me consists of the first 3 movies and the Marvel comics that came out during that.
Oh, they're great.
During that 6-year period. That to me is the only Star Wars. The thing about it is now, well, I'd actually.
Well, Gary, can I ask you? Did you see in the Mandalorian trailer they got a character right out of the Marvel Star Wars, like 2 or 3 issues?
Oh, which one? Which one?
I can't remember, but it said go watch the trailer, because it's literally I was like, that's the perfect.
Is it the green? Is it the green rabbit? Is it the giant green rabbit?
No, it's not the green rabbit. It was a reptilian guy. Green.
Oh, right.
Green
Okay.
Rabbit in. That's a deep cut.
So, I mean, if you look, Star Wars generally, I mean, it has gone from, in my opinion, just looking at the first 3 movies, this epic story, this worldwide cultural juggernaut, and now it's just become product. And everything that and the original story, which is this, young man's hero's journey and the fight of the rebellion against the Empire, which was resolved in movie-wise in Return of the Jedi. All the rest of it ever since then, since 1983, to me has just been kind of like, barnacles attaching to a story that's basically kind of like over. It's like, okay, Rabbi, great cook, the Rabbi. It's kind of like Rabbi has core ingredients for his, for the no doubt delicious stuff that he makes, but everything since 1983 has been, if the Rabbi stood there and just kept randomly grabbing things from his cabinet and tossing it into the pot,
you're not
saying,
wrong.
well, let's try this, and what at the end of that, do you have anything that's edible? No.
So the core of the problem with the show that must not be named, with Star Trek, is they were all very much morality tales, right? They were always very moral. And Star Wars had a very moral fairy tale story that went back through the entirety of Western culture, right? The people make Star Wars now are deeply immoral, and they don't understand morality. Whereas George Lucas may not have been the greatest guy ever, but he understood what morality was, right? They could never. What's that episode of Star Trek where they go? It's in the first season where they're being them versus the Romulans, and the Romulans are keep the cloaking, and they kind of
Oh,
find
balance of terror.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So they'll never be able to do something like that now because you can't show Romulans as being the bad guys. Whereas before, a bit in the 60s, it was a sci-fi take on a US frigate versus a German U-boat, right? And it was very obviously that's what it was. You know, that we lack morality. Therefore, we can't tell what morality tells. And morality tells connects to people.
And if you want to expand it out, Dan, as you showed the poster, if you want to expand it out to include the first 6 movies, which is basically just the stuff that Lucas did, then you can argue, well, without Lucas, everything is irrelevant and pointless. I mean, you can look at a lot of the current stuff, and irrelevant is really the only word for it. It exists not to tell an epic story like George Lucas wanted to do. It just exists as product for cablers or streamers or toy stores or whatever. And it's lost whatever, maybe you could say, well, if the George Lucas stuff is true, Star Wars, everything else isn't. There's lots of ways to divide it out. But everything else now, if the oversaturation has, as Rabbi said, whether it's for Trek or Who or this, it's a test to see how much an established like cultural juggernaut like Trek or Star Wars, how much crap can you pile on it before the legs just buckle and it's done. That's what all of this is really a test of.
Star Wars has become culturally irrelevant. Second to, I do think that people are far more excited about Denis Villeneuve's Dune final film and several other movies. I'd even go so far as to say that the MCU, particularly the Spider-Man film that's coming up in a couple of months, that's in better shape than Star Wars. They've got a hell of a job because, I've had one eye on this Mandalorian movie thinking, oh, this could be good. And yet here we are, we're a week away from it opening and I couldn't give a flying. And even then I thought, I'll just buy the Steelbook, I'll buy whatever. And then I thought, oh, well, Disney don't do physical media, so I won't be able to. And I thought, you'd think that would instill something in me. In that case, you've got to go to the cinema. And I actually just thought, oh, whatever. Oh.
See, I think honestly, I think that's really, it seems to me, I just realized that's the catch-22 of modern Hollywood. The oversaturation is one of the things that's killing a lot of these franchises, but Hollywood is so deathly afraid on taking a chance on anything new. So they'll go back to the reboot, the remake, whatever, because they say, oh, well, there's a guaranteed audience. We probably won't lose a lot of money on that. Whatever, unless they do something stupid like the Snow White type stuff that Disney's done. But Hollywood wants to rely on safe stuff that people know, but it's that exact oversaturation which has killed everything. So without them wanting to take a chance on something new, there's no chance that like a current day something like Star Wars, which comes and hits the world and that's all the world can talk about, when the original Star Wars came out, Hollywood is too afraid to do anything like that anymore.
No matter what we think of those prequel films as well, all 3 of them were culturally relevant. There were significant releases that we still talk about. Well, we were still talking about them up until the Disney Star Wars thing. We were, and not in the best of terms, but we were still talking about them. The generation that literally grew up with them. I remember having my eldest son, on my knee, watching episode 1 for the first time and watching his little face. To them, these are just as sacred as the originals are to us, and I would never devalue that for them for whatever reason. Reconnecting this back to mythology, I think, obviously is where the real gold lies, where the flavor of Star Wars is, the vistas, the music. Ideally, something connected with John Williams is good, and they have tried to tap into that with various different projects, but I've never really done it successfully. But the fan base understands all these markers far more, knows where they live in the corners, and I think can recreate them in a far more effective in a far more effective way. Rabbi, you've been talking about this fan cut of the Obi-Wan TV show. Now, disclaimer, I quite enjoyed the Obi-Wan TV show for what it was. At least I watched it to the end, which is, I think it's one of, say, 3 that I've watched to the end. So I didn't hate the show at all.
The major problem with the TV show was it didn't center on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But do you think that's why? Do you think that the fact that this wasn't a complete washout, that there was something of the texture, the flavour of Star Wars in it, is the reason why the guy that you've been telling me about, do you think that's why he was moved to do this? Because he thought,
probably,
this isn't totally unsalvageable, if only that, because the Obi-Wan project was originally a film. It was for the theatres originally.
Right. It's very salvageable, and that was the thing that was really annoying about the Obi-Wan show. Right, there was so much in it that was really good and really cool. You just had to wade through a setting of absolute woke shit. You had the woke shit going all the way through it. Now, once you take that out, it was all about Baby Leia and Moses Ingram, who is a terrible actress. She is just a terrible actress. Like shockingly bad. So what this cut does, it makes Obi-Wan the star of his own show, and it's his story, which is something that massively lacked the TV show, and it became incredibly compelling and watchable. So, big recommend for me.
Well, let's take a look at the trailer and see what all the fuss is about, because obviously the beauty of this is because it's been cut and there's different music in different places, we won't get a strike.
Oh, great.
Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see.
See what?
Is this Dune? Oh.
The way.
No, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's over. Your need for victory, Anakin, it blinds you.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan.
It's been 10 years. I'm not who I used to be.
Fort Vader, should we pursue?
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
I will do what I must. I'm sorry, Anakin. For all of it.
I totally
if Disney had any
watched
sense, they will put that on their streaming service straight away.
Yep.
It's that you can download it for free in 4K. It's
Really?
fabulous. Yeah, he has also done an amalgam in 2 Boba Fett movies. The first one is excellent. Second one pulls from Book of Boba Fett, which is kind of shit. So it's, there's no polishing that turd. And he also did one for Ahsoka, and there's really no polishing that turd. Just while we were doing the stream, a friend WhatsApped me and said, I just finished watching Ahsoka's episode 2 and I'm bored. Should I carry on? I'm like, no. You've seen everything good now. You've seen Ray Stevenson. Forget it.
That was an outstanding trailer. I didn't watch Obi-Wan. I would totally watch this film.
Yeah, I can't recommend it strongly. It's like having a new Star Wars movie, and it's like a Star Wars movie.
Wow.
And it's got great villains in it. The Inquisitors are great. Sorry?
This could be something for us to review, couldn't it? A dedicated review if everybody
I've
wanted
been
to do that. If
begging
anybody
you for
wants to do
weeks,
that.
months.
It could be, yeah.
Do I have to?
do I
wait? So hang on. So do I basically kind of have to sail the seas to find this?
No.
No,
it's
you just go to his website. It's in the chat.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just go to his website, download it in whatever format you like, and it's fabulous. That and the first Boba Fett movie, breathtaking. Boba Fett movie is like an epic, good, the bad, the ugly western. You know, with is in the Star Wars world. So it really totally works.
There was originally going to be a Boba Fett movie, wasn't there? There was an Underworld film when it was still with Fox, and then later on,
no, Underworld was the video game. Oh yeah, no, there was the Underworld game. Movie,
it was the one that Russell T Davies wrote some scripts for. They got various writers
right,
from all over the world.
Yeah, what's his name? The guy who did Life on Mars wrote a bunch of scripts.
Ashley Fair.
Again, Disney.
Ashley Fair.
Use those. It was supposed to be like The Sopranos in Star Wars.
Dig them out. Yes, I went to the website to have a look at this and see how I could get it. And because with me, it's just finding the time, but I'm definitely going to make time for this now. And I saw that he's done something to Ahsoka as well. I didn't see any of this.
Don't bother. There's no polishing that turd. You can't do anything with it.
You don't think even Kai Patterson can turn it around, can make something?
No, I watched it. I went, this is still shit.
Oh, okay.
And I just read that the second season of this is delayed to 2027.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're making more of it.
It's just one more season.
Blows my mind. Again, the stupidity running Star Wars right now is they're like a chicken with a head cut off. At least when they're running in the direction of woke, they had a direction they're going in. Now they're just going in any direction they can.
I really wanted to see us.
Well, you know, I have to tell you,
and I like Rosario Dawson.
Sorry.
Well, I really wanted to see the Ahsoka show because I like the character in animation, and I really like Rosario Dawson. And yet, when I saw clips from it, I thought that I just knew it was going to be a stinker, so I stayed away.
It was an absolute stinker. This was the one where it's a bunch of stunning and brave women. One of them gets a lightsaber through the gut and then gets better. You know, it's just shit. It's all like stunning, brilliant women. And then you get one effeminate man at the end who's also stunning and brilliant, but he's very effeminate. But you know, as I said, I have to say, well, I forgot what I was going with this. I had a pithy segue into telling you my crackers are pretty much creamed at this point, right? Not plain soggy biscuit, but my crackers are awfully creamed.
Cream the crackers,
I think yes.
yo.
Star Wars Goodbye Girl. I think it's time for me to head off into the sunset. I got to get up early tomorrow.
That's a good movie. Goodbye Girl is a good movie.
Well, that was good times. We didn't know we had it so good in the 80s. Did we have any idea how good we had it in the 80s
and 90s?
And Star Trek 2's coming out. Oh man, we had great cinema.
Yeah.
See, this is why I don't even think. You know, what's the movie that's coming out next year? Star Killer. What's the next Star Wars movie?
Yeah, so that's
the
coming.
The one we don't.
I see. I don't even know that's going to be. I mean, I think that they're overestimating. I think that movie. I think they think that there's still such a love for the brand that it's like, no, you've destroyed the brand. So if this movie relies on people still loving the brand, I don't see how this.
I don't think they're as confident in the brand as they were. Firstly, because of this logo, which have you ever seen the words Star Wars dimmed in that way that you read this as Starfighter first? Named. I believe, Chris, that they want to. Want this to. They're happy for this to be the next extension of Star Wars, but I think they're trying to move away from things, for associations with things that failed, and attract people. This is a star. Is it a star vehicle? I don't know. I think they're hitching their wagon to Ryan Gosling, who at the moment can't do any wrong. He even came out of that Barbie movie with various awards and more cultural currency than he'd ever had before. There's Drive. There's the movie that he was in a few weeks ago. Project Hail Mary, isn't it? Isn't he in that? Yeah. So he's obviously First Man. All that stuff.
I'll tell you where Star Wars is right now.
Nobody knows anything about this movie, which I think is really working in its favor. right? Like nobody knew anything about Star Wars when it came out.
We had a slim synopsis. We had a slim synopsis about a year ago, Rabbi, and nothing's been published since. And the synopsis sounded terrific. It just sounded like a lot of fun. But then again, so does The Mandalorian. But with The Mandalorian, of course, though, that was a TV show that they're putting on the screen, whereas this is something completely fresh, completely new, different director, different star, different time period.
That's exactly what it is.
I wish it luck.
This is post the sequels, right?
Yeah, it's a different time, a different place. So it's further into the future. I'm not sure by how many years. Probably not too many. But on the action is taking place on different planets that we've never been to before, and there's no returning characters.
Sounds like Discovery.
Good. That's exactly what they need to do now.
I would tell you where
the only thing left for them to do.
Well, I would say where the Star Wars franchise is right now. They've dug up a corpse, but unfortunately the corpse isn't done decomposing yet, and the corpse is very stinky, and nobody wants to have anything to do with a stinky corpse. So that is the state of Star Wars right now.
So Star Wars Weekend at Bernie's. That's what you're saying.
That
Okay, my crackers are creaming. They're almost turning liquid at this point, right? The cream is very loose, ladies and gentlemen. Is there anything anybody wants to ask me before I head off into the sunset? I'll answer anything honestly anybody wants to ask.
When is your Substack of recipes on the way?
Yes.
We'll put that.
Oh, I don't know. I should definitely put that on my Substack.
Yeah,
Rabbi,
really good.
I would be there for that if you did that.
Okay, dude, just look at YouTube. They tell you how to make it, and I just did what they said, and it worked. I don't tell you.
I want the rabbi touch.
You tell you, a lot of people, especially the young ladies, like the rabbi's touch. It's an albatross around my neck, which is something that's a bit kinky. What I can say. Fine. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Dan. I'm heading off to the sunset.
Catch you later,
everyone.
Bye.
Hey Dan, let me ask you a question. I know that obviously, they can't always default to like Mr. and Mrs. Joe Public, but if you went around and took a very sizable survey, not just fandom, but everybody, and said, what is Star Wars to you? Don't you think that like 90% of the people would say Star Wars is Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie fighting Darth Vader? That's it. So all of this other extraneous stuff about like the lesbian space witches and all of that, and Grogu and Ahsoka and all of that it's just irrelevant. It's just
every time they've captured something else, they lose it almost as quickly. The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda was a huge thing 5 or 6 years ago. That film should have come out. That film should have came out 18 months later. Tops. We shouldn't still be talking about it now. Nobody knows who Grogu is. They knew who Baby Yoda was. Nobody knows who Grogu is, and that's why I think that could be part of the problem. And the Mandalorian has a kind of drag factor in the way that with people of our age because of Pedro Pascal. And so it'll immediately, so the people who are invested in the culture war, and lots of commentators that we know, are not going to give it any time or
look forward to my video, folks.
Yeah, so
have you seen it, Chris?
Oh no, I'm not seeing it. I'm going to celebrate this thing tanking.
Oh, okay.
So look forward to my video, folks. It's going to be a celebration.
He is a nasty little man, that Pedro Pascal. I really don't like him. The more I see, the more I hear. At least in the Mandalorian film, you can't see him. And as I understand it, he's barely actually involved in a performance capacity.
Dan, the last thing he was in the news for was making out with Stephen Colbert.
I saw.
Well, Steve, let me ask you guys now. Of course, now the talk starting to bubble up as really basically all they have left to do is reboot the original, same characters, new actors. Do you think that would work?
No, and they would not be the same characters because Han Solo would be of a different demographic representation. He would also like boys, and he would probably be autistic.
They wouldn't be able to help themselves, Chris. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that would be the final straw. People wouldn't give a shit, and just a perfect jumping off point. That's what people would do. They'd lose them. There's no way people are going to sit there and watch that. Not when you can, again, because there's no scarcity anymore. I mean, with the original Star Wars back in the cinema next year, allegedly completely restored and despecialized. A number of fans have done that already, but this is the official treatment of it. Who knows? That could have a revitalizing effect. Could, in the same way that re-releasing those prequels in cinemas did.
I'll tell you what
well.
Star Wars is, Dan.
They'll still fuck it up, though. I know they're going to fuck it up. They're going to find a way to fuck it up.
Star Wars is 5 good movies: the original trilogy, Episode 3, Rogue One, and a bunch of absolute shit. There's much more shit Star Wars than there is good Star Wars.
I don't even include, honestly, Chris, I don't even include Rogue One. I saw it once. To me, that was like an irrelevant story because, again, you want to find out, how did they get the plans?
Because
for the original, okay, I guess that's fine, but, it's irrelevant to the main story.
It's the closest to real Star Wars. It's the only thing produced since Disney bought the franchise that actually feels like Star Wars. The rest of it feels like being, I don't know, pooped on by a donkey. It's terrible. If I'm being, I like Rogue One. I have not watched. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was when I checked out, and I have seen what reviews of what's came after that, and dear God. But it's like, you have that original trilogy. A lot of people disagree with me on this, but I love Episode 3. I think it's,
I do too.
For me, I think it's the same quality. It's a little rushed, but it is the same quality as the first 3. And Rogue One just has that Star Wars feel too, but the rest of it is just complete shit.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst? I don't know. Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. Mandalorian may have been watchable.
It's the worst thing they've put out. I mean, I know a lot of fans really hate The Last Jedi, but at least The Last Jedi is quite well made. The Rise of Skywalker is a friggin' terrible film. It's completely forgettable, badly made. The characters are paper thin. There's no logic to it, and it desecrates. I think it desecrates even more of the franchise than The Last Jedi did. So it's all car crash after car crash as far as I'm concerned. But I think we should see what people in the live chat have got to say about this, if they're planning on going and seeing the new film, how they may feel about the state of Star Wars right now, and back to childhoods or adolescence times where they would pick up things on VHS or DVD in the various editions that we've had over the years. I've got a loft full of these damn things.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
If it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
This is the Star Wars logo that I associate the most with those earliest of days. It was on pencil cases and pencils and all manner of stationery like that, and T-shirts and things. So when I think of a pure Star Wars, I think of this that looks like a sort of the opening crawl. Nice edit. So back to the Kai Patterson cut that the rabbi is such a big fan of. Nice edit, but it's still poor, according to Peter Harrington. To be honest, I'll stick with the original 3 movies. And even then, I'm not fussed. So Funky's just not a big Star Wars guy. And not everybody is. It's easily my least. If I'm to rank the big 3, it is Star Wars that comes bottom for me. But I begrudgingly do that. Something's got to come at the bottom.
No, something else comes third for me, Dan. I think you know which one that is.
Trek and the other one are kind of, it's neck and neck, but the other one just
franchises. I think you meant the movies. Okay.
No, I'm talking about
I would say, Dan.
Yes.
It's Star Trek, which I don't know why I still vaguely have hope for. Then it's Star Wars, and then way at the bottom, like as low as it could possibly go, and then some, is that British atrocity we don't talk about. That show can fuck off and die.
People comparing the prices. A cinema ticket for a family of 4, Chris, probably costs about £100 minimum. Yeah, it does, Funky. It does. Waiting a month for streaming.
It's worse here.
big pizza is way more attractive. This is the kind of things that I've been mulling over in my head.
It's funky. It's 200 pounds if you want to get the specialty popcorn buckets.
Yep, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, Robert Payne remembers when we had to wait years for a film to come out on VHS tape. Again, there was the scarcity, the anticipation was a big part of it, and Star Wars, Fox played that with Star Wars. They played a beautiful game with that. It was frustrating at the time, but now, looking back, I loved it.
E.T. took like 5 years to come out. I remember that didn't come out on VHS until 1988.
That's incredible. 5 years. Victor has picked up the 9-film Star Wars The Skywalker Saga 4K box set back in 2020. Looks pretty on the shelf, but I never watched it, I think he means.
I ended up buying select movies from that. I bought the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and Rogue One. Do not get that set. Do not get those movies. I will tell you why. They have been butchered and DNR'd to death. They look like absolute dog shit. They're an atrocity. Like literally, like they're butchered. They're awful.
I remember that book, not C-3PO. That was one of the first original novels that came out.
Han Solo at Star's End. Was that written by Kevin Anderson? Somebody like that?
No. That was that came out like in the late 70s. There was like 2 or 3 books. It was just Han Solo and Chewie.
Was it the one that Alan Dean Foster wrote? And I've got all these books in the loft. It has to be something.
I think Han Solo starts, and it had a blue cover. I remember. Brian Daly.
It was a flustered book, according to PD Rich. I think he's just talking about the general state of it. Wasn't Starkiller the original name for Star Wars? What was the original name for the Luke Skywalker?
For Luke, yes, in the outline.
A Starfighter sounds like a different franchise, says Robert Payne. I don't think that is accidental. I think that they're trying to move on now under the Star Wars name. I wish them luck with it, because I like Ryan Gosling. I like the sound of this film. I think it sounds promising, but a lot of things do. I can't build my hopes up too high. I probably will go and see that. I may even go and see The Mandalorian. I may take myself to it. But the fact that I'm not counting the days in the way that I am for Supergirl or Masters of the Universe, what does that tell you? I'm not counting the days.
I won't be watching it. I will be enjoying the face plant. It's going to be awesome. It's going to make.
I'm actually
it's released on my birthday, so the face plant is going to make my birthday. That's my birthday present this year. Watching this shit fall on its fucking face. Man, I'm grumpy.
Pedro fatigue is real, says I am your servant.
Yep.
It's above fatigue. It's a far greater distaste, and in some cases disgust, for a man who seemingly sort of waltzes from project to project to project. It's not that he's without talent. I've never suggested that, but he is largely without charm, and he has a feeling. The kids today call it, like my daughter calls it, the ick. And that's what Pedro Pascal has. Stars in times past had a star quality about them. They were magnetic people. But this man is absolutely repellent as himself. And even though he is, whereas you see him in character as a great deal of the roles that he's played from when I first saw him in Game of Thrones, he wasn't even as bad in Fantastic Four as I was expecting, but he was still bad because that he cannot shed now that public persona. We've seen who this man really is. We've got an inkling of his values. In fact, he's been quite open about some of the things that he believes, and they're a major turn-off. On top of the fact that he isn't possessed with the greatest range in the world either. So he plays a lot of these parts in 1 or 2 modes. So yeah, you whack this arsehole in everything, and people are going to get jacked pretty quick. I think it's past fatigue. I think people hate this man, and usually I would push against something like that, because if people are talented, people are talented. But in the case of Pedro Pascal, it's completely justified, and maybe it isn't his fault, but he doesn't have to say all this stuff.
Part of it is.
He must have known he wasn't suitable to play Reed Richards. He must have done. So why say yes?
Because he's an egomaniac. So I think he thought he was I've never seen in the history of Hollywood, even in the woke era, the entire film industry so desperate to turn somebody who sucks that bad into a star. Like, give it up already. God damn it. He sucks. He will always suck.
He was great in that show, The Last of Us, but
No, he wasn't.
I thought he was quite good in that. That was the last thing that
I couldn't stand him, Dan. My TV, I couldn't finish it because it put my TV at risk.
That was the last thing that I watched him in, where to me he managed to escape into the character, and I wasn't affected by everything that was going on around him. That was the last thing. But I had to bail on that show after 3 episodes for various different reasons. I felt that they'd only made it to tell one story really, and the rest of it was quite convoluted and a little bit contrived. I think it's maybe gone for 3 seasons now. I'm not interested in it, and I've no idea if he's still in it or what's going on. Victor Fontaine's dropping 3.
The Bella Ramsey show.
3 poos. They did kill him off then. I did wonder about that. Robert Payne's not a fan of prequels. I don't know. I think that's a thin reading of the appeal of the prequel, to tell you the truth, Robert. But I think that people of our age and up remain largely uncharmed by them, and I understand that. But I think there's a lot of value in some prequels. I think some can be very, very good. It's finding the parallels.
It's a good prequel. The other 2 are bad.
If it finds a parallel lane to tell a story in, at least partly, I think that can be surprising. I mean, for example, the prequel to The Thing, the John Carpenter movie, The Thing.
Dear God.
It's not a film I've watched very often, but it was quite creative, and I didn't hate it, I suppose, is the best thing I can think about it. The Translorian says, "I am your servant." Oh God, I've just realised what he means. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you for that. That'll be a strike
give
for
them
me.
Time. Yeah, actually, his avatar there might be kind of accurate. So when you're talking about the new Star Wars with the new casting, so his picture there, that's if you go back to the previous comment, that's the new Luke Skywalker. Yeah, that's the new Luke Skywalker. That's what they'd cast.
Here's a question
for me. The thing with just go back to the prequels thing for a moment. For me, the appeal of Rogue One, because people friggin' love that film, and that's a prequel. That has got the same kind of appeal that the Titanic film had, the James Cameron film in particular, but all of the Titanic films, Night to Remember, the original Titanic, it's the same appeal. The story that goes in the background, we know how it plays out because it's historical facts. And in many respects, the plot of the original Star Wars film of A New Hope is just as a historical sort of fact as the real life sinking of the Titanic. We know what happens in both of those. And yet with Rogue One, just like Jack and Kate Winslet's character, whose name escapes me, we get invested in those characters internal to the rest of it. And it's the same with Rogue One, with Cassian Andor and Felicity Jones's characters. We do get bound up with them somehow. I'm still not entirely sure how that film worked so well, but it really, really did. That's the appeal of prequels, and that's when they're done well. So I believe that there's lots of good prequels out there if you're willing to look. Sorry, Gary, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, I'm wondering, where would the Star Wars universe be? Is if back in, what was episode 1? That was 1999, right?
Yeah.
So in 1999, let's say the prequels were delayed for about 10 years. And then in 1999, we would have got, and then the subsequent 3 or 4 years after, 4 or 5, 6 years after that, we would have got the Thrawn trilogy with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, adapting that as 7, 8, and 9. And then after that, if you want to, George Lucas, go back and do the prequel trilogy, that would have been fine. But have that as like the wrap up for those characters. I actually think the Star Wars world would be in a lot better place had they adapted that trilogy back in the prime moment when you would have got all those actors in, resuscitate Star Wars, then do the prequel trilogy, and forget all the rest of this garbage.
I think it might still have ended up in the same spot. Say the
Really?
original, the original 7, 8, 9 would have been 99 through 2005. The prequels would have been, say, if you do it 09 through 2015. You would still have 2015 when everything went to hell, and the difference would be that we would have 3 good movies, hopefully. Although George Lucas, it would not have been at the same quality as the first 3. They would have been decent, but I think that the woke era, because it killed everything, I think it still would have killed Star Wars. But we would have the bonus of having, an additional 3 good movies, which would give us like 7 good Star Wars, or no, not like 8 good Star Wars movies.
If they do release the A New Hope in an untainted form, as originally intended, will either of you go to the cinema to see it?
Oh yeah, I will.
It's not just me then. I'm going to find it difficult to stay away.
They're gonna have to show legal documents which prove this is actually the true and untainted form of it. And you know what? I actually hope they include the original trailer with it, which is still on YouTube. And that actually, that logo that you showed before, Dan, the pyramid type of logo was right. I think that was the font that they used in the original trailer, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Gary, what I want to see is the original cut. The bad one with Darth Vader's original voice. I've always wanted to see that out of morbid curiosity. Before the movie was saved in editing, George Lucas's original edit, which is legendary.
Was there anybody who voiced the character before James Earl Jones? I mean,
yes. Dear God, yes. There you can find clips. It was bad.
When they were filming it, it was David Prowse's voice, right? When they were filming.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the original voice in the original edit, and then they realized this is bad. So then James Earl Jones came in. But you can find clips of what Darth Vader. He sounds like, I don't know, Count Chocula. You can find the original. Like the story of Star Wars is like it's the best example of a movie that was saved in editing, and with the musical score, because the original edit with same thing. The original edit with Darth Vader's original voice with a terrible score. Apparently, it's just a disaster, and nobody's seen it since. I really want to see that original cut because it's so bad it sounds awesome. And how they actually somehow managed to turn this around completely in editing.
How about this, Chris? You could I bet the rabbi could do this, get an AI Dave Prowse and knock out all the dialogue with James Earl Jones and get an AI of Dave, and then you could get your Star Wars as it originally was. I think that would be a viable option. For these miracles.
For Star Wars Deep Dive, somebody in the chat mentioned Luke Starkiller, and Peter Rich just said The Star Wars, which is the original name of the outline, The Star Wars. If you're interested in what the original story would have been, I think it was either Dark Horse or IDW did like a 9-issue adaptation of that original outline, which is really, really good. If you want to find out what the original, if they would have taken the outline as it stands and filmed it, they did a comic version of that, which is really good, still in print. So dig that out. I think it actually is called The Star Wars from Dark Horse.
Star Wars itself back in cinemas next year, everybody, and maybe it'll be exploited on physical media in some way. I don't know. You never know what they're going to do at Disney right now. Things do seem to be in fluctuation, and as regards Star Wars, I think they're desperate to right this ship. I do hope that something happens, because I don't enjoy seeing this go down. The Mandalorian and Grogu in cinemas from the 21st of May. Could be a time until this is available on physical media, but that's not going to stop us from talking about the things that we want to talk about on this show in this slot. Let us know what you think, if you're going to go and see it, if you're going to take the kids, if you've been taken by your kids because they know that you still love Star Wars and so they think it could be a sure thing. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the film and on everything that's coming next year as Star Wars hits that 50th anniversary year.
When is the uncut original supposed to come out?
They haven't said yet.
Okay.
There's no definitive date. I think
they should. The way they should just promote that, they should just put out a poster that says "Han shoots first."
There you go. That'll sell it. Just that in big bold letters in that original, in that font, like that, and you're good to go. You're good to go.
Yep.
We're definitely cooking with gas with these stingers now. Everybody all right in the back? Was that okay?
All right. Oh, come on, Dan. You can't let that clip go uncommented on. If anybody has never seen Never Too Young to Die, was that That's right. Never Too Young to Die? If you are in any or have ever been a Vanity fan, you've got to see that movie. Yeah, where Gene Simmons is the cross-dressing terrorist. Yeah, there you go.
Always fresh jewels to be discovered or rediscovered on physical media, ideally. I don't know if that's available anywhere. It probably is. It could be. Maybe. I don't know. Whenever we do one of these, I always end up with a few lists here, things to scribble down, to look up somewhere, even if it's just to see if Raise the Titanic is on YouTube, or if I can if there is a DVD that's been released that I've never found, that I've got to know now before I go to bed. I've got to know whether I can get that, and about the film there that we've just seen a clip of. That could be pretty good. And usually one of us knows, but somebody in the chat knows. But if we don't, we've got the wonders of the internet. We can search.
I just did a quick search. It is available on Blu-ray, but it's probably sold out because you can get it for like $45 on Amazon. So I think
we could just stroll down to Blockbusters or Ritz or Video Plus or wherever back in the day, pick it up for a couple of nights, take it back. It was so much easier, Chris. It was so much easier back then. God, I miss the 90s. I do. And Chris misses the 90s so much. He's going back to the land here. He's going back to the land.
Oh yes. So we got another update. So as we learned last week, Frank is still in hiding from Satan. And he's decided to disguise himself as a farmer. So you can see he's grown his hair out and he's grown his goatee a little bit to disguise himself. And it appears he has brainwashed a bunch of very cute farm animals to think that he is awesome. Although they are very adorable, I will give it that. But Frank is an idiot. So I'm worried for the animals because everything Frank does ends terribly. So we'll see. So pray for the animals, especially that cute little puppy dog and piggy at his feet, and the little kitten. And he's got a rooster and a horsey. There's a little duck in there. He's got a nice band of friends, but unfortunately they've made a bad decision in deciding to befriend Frank. So we'll have to see where this goes. But Satan hasn't caught up to him yet.
It'll end in tears, Chris. I suspect it'll end in tears, but
we're going to make sure that none of the animals are hurt because we do not do that here ever. So the animals will be fine, but the story might be different with Frank because I have a feeling he's going to end up doing something dastardly over the next 2 weeks, and it's going to be a nightmare. But you all know my pet peeve. The animals will be fine. Nobody will hurt the animals. They will just end up being very disappointed in Frank.
Can't say much fairer than that. We're poised for these updates. It's going to end in tears and fire and brimstone again, I suspect, Chris. But yeah, thank you for all that you do. And that news from the front line there regarding Frank, of course. Thank you to the rabbi from another planet there. If you don't know where to find him by now, then you never will. He's live streaming most days about all manner of, it's mostly cookery tips at the moment, the odd bit of cult entertainment.
He needs to start a cooking show.
I think he does. I can see him in a full apron. And probably one of those where you get stockings and suspenders printed over the top.
Yeah, one of those like chef's caps where he's just there. You know, instead of sitting in his seat talking about pop culture, he's standing by the stove stirring while he talks to us about pop culture.
getting absolutely munted. I think he'd have the wine open, he'd be off his face before the oven goes bing, wouldn't he? It'd all be over. It'd all be over.
He'd keep adding in like another shot from the wine bottle. He goes, let's add a little bit more of this. Let's add a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it'll end in tears. It'll end in tears. A bit like the live chat here. People are sending various comments here. Gene Simmons is not bad in Runaway from 1984. We talked about that last week. Big favorite of mine. Love that movie.
It is in the park. It's one of the worst things you will ever see.
What?
Kiss in the Park. It's horrific.
Oh no, it's called. Get it right, Chris. It's called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
That's it. It's terrible. They tried to make a serious Kiss movie, and
tell me you've seen that, Dan. It was a TV movie from the late 70s where whatever theme park down in the southern part of the U.S., all these shows like the Brady Bunch, everything filmed. Whenever they went to a park, they always filmed it there. But it was Kiss performing there, and then there was some like Phantom of the Opera type guy who lived under the park, and they battled him.
It is the worst thing I've ever watched. Like it is, but no, this is well into so bad it's good territory. I'm like it's a new cringe does not do this justice. Whatever is like 10 steps beyond cringe, it's that movie. Jesus Christ, it's awful. I'm triggered by just
I consider myself fortunate to have avoided this now. I'm not going to be writing this down. I think I shall avoid it from now until forevermore. It sounds awful. But thank you anyway, Chris, and thank you to you, Gary. Another barnstormer. I think I've enjoyed this first block of physical media nights. I think it's been good. I think it's working quite nicely. We're finding the right balance. There's lots to talk about, and I'm sure that as the rest of the year goes on, there'll be even more and more Star Trek on the way too, and maybe some classic movies and things like that. So yeah, it's a public holiday for you next weekend as well. Gary.
It is. It's Memorial Day. Yeah, I'm taking a couple of days off. And
what does that entail? What
Memorial Day, which actually used to be on a set day of the week, like December 25th. It used to be May 30th, which actually is my birthday. But then, being the lazy bunch we are, we decided to move it away from its unmovable holiday, which used to be on May 30th. And it's like, oh, you know what? Let's just have it be whatever the last Monday is, so everybody can just take a long weekend, because that's what's most important to us.
Gotcha.
So now it floats to whatever that last Monday is.
Do you eat anything ceremonial or
no? It's basically it commemorates everybody who died. We've
got
that Memorial Day. Yeah, it's kind of like is it Roses Day? What's the similar one that the UK
Poppy Day.
has?
Yeah, we've got Poppy Day. Remembrance
Poppy Day.
Sunday.
Yes, it's kind of
Oh, that's nice.
And if you want to, so if you get the day off, find some place where the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park is streaming and spend the day watching that.
Could be worth looking for. Thank you again, Gary, and thanks to you too, Chris. Thank you to the Rabbi from Another Planet and everybody in the live chat. Like not Z3PO. I never know if that is actually Z3PO or not when he puts that. Or is it an alternative account? Is that what he's doing?
Anthony Daniels.
We've got Matthew Pounder, Funky. We've got Keith. Is it Keith Scroggins? That can't be a real name, Keith. Surely not. We've got Peter Harrington and Funky. And I am your servant and lots more besides. Thank you all for chipping in with our ramble through the shelves here of all our physical media that we've got in. But look, we're not going to waste any more of your viewing time. We're certainly not going to waste any more of ours. I'm going to see what I can fit in before bed. More playtime. Yeah, the weekend continues. I hope you have a brilliant one, and we'll speak to you soon. See you in the comments. Bye-bye.